Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. For the subject SPS 210, Fundamental of Sport Psychology, we will doing a presentation entitled Psychological Skills Training. First of all, I will show you the content of this presentation. First, we have practice deep breathing and self-talk. Next, evaluate imagery ability. Then practice imagery, also evaluate anxiety level, and lastly evaluate mood level. Before we go through and we doing this presentation, firstly I will introduce to you our group member. Hi, I am AMIRAH SYAHIRAH binti KASSIM, and my metric number is 2020130517.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is ANWARUL AIMAN bin ABDUL RAZAK. My NOOR metric is 2020723417.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is ANISSA SYAKIRAH binti JULIAZMIN. My matrix number 2020165513.
Assalamualaikum. My name is NABIL bin AZIAN and my matrix number is 2020586691.
For the first part, we will talk about how to practice deep breathing and self-talk. Breathing control. Breathing control is physical or physiological process. This means it directly affects the body. The body and mind are interlinked, so breathing control also affects how an athlete feels. It affects their control of arousal. Okay, now I will show you how we doing a good or a right breathing. First, we inhale using our nose, and then we breathe out using our mouth like this. Make sure you're doing it slowly.
So today I will be talking about 3 ways to practice positive self-talk for success. So number 1 is don't compare yourself to others. When you are constantly comparing what you lack to what others have, you can easily get down on yourself. It is easy to become negative about your life if you are playing the comparison game. Instead, find gratitude in what you do have rather than concentrating on what you don't have. The second one is use positive words with others. If we are negative with our words with others, then we are likely to be negative about ourselves as well. Having negative thought leads to negative self-talk. If you are in negative mood, then stop now. Start speaking life and affirmation to the people in your life that you love, including yourself. Doing so will help improve the attitude in your heart. The third one is believe in your success. Believe in your ability to succeed. Believe in the abilities and skills that you have so that you can propel yourself towards success. Doubting yourself holds you back from trying and thus holds you back from succeeding. Believe you can succeed even if it takes multiple tries. Commit to telling yourself that you can do it, even you have to modify your movement to keep going. Tell yourself that you will not quit. Tell yourself that one way or another you will get the job done.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I will do a self-talk, a positive self-talk, which is be kind to yourself. What is self-talk? Let me explain first. Self-talk is our inner voice that is influenced by our subconscious mind. It's a measure of how we view ourselves. How does it impact us? Positive self-talk makes you feel good about yourself. It's an affirmation that can build your self-esteem. Negative self-talk often leave you feeling less about yourself, diminishing your sense of self-worth. For most of us, improving self-talk to more positive words allow us to build our self-esteem. You tend to feel more in control or optimistic about achieving your goals. Like everything else, it requires practice and time. There are no age to start or stop. Even children can benefit from learning how to use positive self-talk. The first step is recognizing this type of inner voice and how it impacts you. Is there a lot of negative self-talk that challenges it? Try to find the reason behind the negativity and see it, if anything can be done about it. Then switch to using affirmation and being empathic toward yourself. Imagine what you would say to a friend who is going through a similar experience. Here are some examples to improve your self-talk, which is the simple one is example, I am a failure. So you switch it into a proud. I'm proud of myself for trying. That take courage. The second one is I should work out and lose the fat. I hate my body. The example one is you must switch into I am capable and I want to become a healthy version of myself. The last example is nothing ever works out for me. You must switch into I am doing the best I can. If there only one thing you can remember to do, be kind to yourself.
Negative self-talk is any inner dialogue you have with yourself that may be limiting your ability to believe in yourself and your own abilities and to reach your potential. So, negative talk cannot only be stressful, but it can really stunt your success. Let's identify negative self-talk. So, for example, in this situation, you drive through coffee shop, gets your wrong order, and you automatically think that the rest of your day will be disaster and start talking negative with yourself like, my day will be disaster or I can't do this. So, that's it, self-talk.
For the second part, I will talk about how to evaluate imagery ability. Before I go through for this point, I will talk what is imagery ability is. Imagery ability is the simulation of event in the mind. It allows you to recreate previous positive experience and picture new event to prepare yourself mentally for performance. Imagery ability often perceived as visualization alone, but the more sense involved, the better it is. What are the sense that is involved? First, kinesthetic. Kinesthetic is the feeling of movement. Next, visual. Visual is what we see. Auditory is what we hear. Tactile is what we touch. And olfactory, that is what we smell. To evaluate or measure imagery ability, we use two techniques, which is the individual's imagery of real movement, or we call the mental chronometry. Second, a self-reported vividness of imagery using a questionnaire, or we call it vividness of movement imagery questionnaire 2, or the acronym is VMIQ2. Okay, firstly, I will talk about the mental chronometry. This assessment provides explicit information on the temporal coupling, which is the real movement and simulated movement. Next, this mental chronometry measurement involves two chronometric tests, that is, time-dependent motor imagery and temporal congruence test. What is the difference between two of these, time-dependent motor imagery and temporal congruence test? Okay, for this time-dependent motor imagery, it is a screening test which quickly determines whether or not the individual understands the instruction and can be performed motor imagery, while temporal congruence test is to compare real and simulated movement time. The protocol developed by Molin et al. Was used in the study, but both chronometric tests have provided reliable measure for healthy participant and participant post-stroke. Okay, next I will talk about VMIQ2 technique. It's involving three motor skills, which is EVI, IVI and KI. EVI is external visual imagery. IVI is internal visual imagery. And lastly, KI. KI is kinesthetic imagery. For this VMIQ2, there will using a scale which is there are a 5-point scale used to rate their vividness in this EVI, IVI and KI for each test. Okay, this is the scale that we use to evaluate this imagery ability by using VMIQ2. As we can see, the lower the number is, the better the imagery ability. And lastly, this is the example of what the participant will do when they're using this technique to evaluate their imagery ability.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, I will present about how to practice imagery. The first one is you must set your imagery goals. The only way to gain the benefit of mental imagery to use it consistently, which is a specific goal for what areas you want to work on in the off season. For example, you might focus on some technical change, being more relaxed and focused, or just going really fast and finishing. The second one is practice make perfect. This means imagery is a skill, and just like any skill that you perform in your sport, you will need to practice in order to be perfect. So that's what imagery skill that you must practice every day. Let's proceed with the next point. The third point is quality, not quantity. Because imagery is a mental skill, you will need to concentrate on creating and controlling our image, which can be tiring when you first get started. For this reason, it's best to begin your imagery training by imaging high quality image for a short period of time, and then gradually increasing the time you spend imaging. The fourth one, set the scene, which is try to make your imagery as realistic as possible by recreating important detail of your sport setting. The example, practice and competition venues in your mind or eyes by including the detail like the color of your opponent, uniform, or the sound of the spectator cheering. You will feel like you are really expressing the performance that you are imaging. Next point is plan your imagery. Image of your sport can frequently pop into your head, but to really benefit for imagery, you should plan the content of your imagery to meet your current needs. Here are just some example. The first one is if you are struggling to perform a certain skill of or strategy in game situation, you should try imagining yourself performing the skill or strategy perfectly and confidently in a coming game. Number 2 is if you often let distraction get in the way, try imagining yourself staying relaxed and focused in the presence of those distraction. Number 3, if you have problem handling your nerve in competition, try to imagine yourself performing exactly the way you want to under those conditions that normally would make you nervous.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hi. So now my part is how to evaluate anxiety level. So what is anxiety? Anxiety is a feeling of uneasy, such a worry or fear that can be mild or severe. Everyone has feeling of anxiety at some point in their life. For example, you may feel worried and anxious about sitting an exam or having a medical test for your interview, or another example for athlete, they have a competition. So this is another test or assessment that we can do for evaluate anxiety level for athletes, such as the sport competitive anxiety test, the competitive state anxiety inventory, the competitive state anxiety inventory 2, cognitive somatic anxiety questionnaire, the sport anxiety scale, And the last one is ANDLER multidimensional anxiety scale. So in this topic, I will present about how to evaluate anxiety level for athletes. So in this assessment, I will use the sport anxiety scale. Sport anxiety scale is a questionnaire that assesses the competitive trait anxiety experienced by athletes during or before competitions. It's developed for child and adolescent athletes. This test funded by Smith. Another similar test include the sport competitions anxiety test. The sport anxiety scale consists of 21 questions to answer by athletes. One question can be answered by one answer only. So the answer is 1 is not at all, 2 somewhat, 3 moderately so, and 4 very much so. So this is example of the 21 questions. As you can see in this slide, there's a question related with experience of athletes during and before competitions. So, how to add up the score? So the results as we know, 21 questions are divided by 3 categories, which is worry, contraction disruptions, and somatic trait anxiety. To calculate your score, add up all the numbers that were circled, then combine them using the following categories to get a score for each of the scale. Add up all results for the trait anxiety score. So, example, as we can see at worry score, so this question, the number 2 question, number 5, number 9, number 10, 13, 16, and 18. So add up all the answer you give and add up all these questions and see the results. Same to contraction, disruption, and somatic anxiety. So when you add all the results, and so you can get your score. So this all my present and information for you. So thank you.
So for my part, I will be talking about how to evaluate mood level. Most people know when they are feeling in a mood, but do you know what mood means, or where your moods come from, or how to change your mood? Simply, a mood is part of your emotional rhythm, but a little less intense than an emotion, and it usually has a trigger, such an event or experience. Understanding your moods may help you work out what caused them and how you tend to behave when you are in different moods. You probably know that you feel good when you are in a positive mood, such as when you feel content, loving, or excited. And you probably know you feel much worse when you are in a negative mood, such as when you feel anxious, disgusted, or annoyed. Your moods are useful to you, and they are being a big part of how you choose to behave and think. A negative mood can be a useful indicator of a problem that needs to be tackled. Most moods pass within a day or so, and even in a flat mood, you can still go about your daily activities. But if down or dark moods are significantly disrupting your life, it's important that you seek help. Understanding your moods helps you manage them and feel better faster. If you are more aware of your moods, you may be able to better manage your lifestyle choice, make informed health decisions, prevent or avoid triggers of negative moods, and work towards a better quality of life. The trick is to watch for changes in your mood, particularly any very high swings or very low dips, which means you need help to even out your emotional state. Self-monitoring is free and takes hardly any time, and it becomes easier as you make it part of your daily routine. Usually a low mood goes away quite quickly and does not require treatment, but if your low mood are lasting for more than 2 weeks and you have felt sad, down or miserable most of the time, or have lost interest in most of your usual activity, you could have depression. Make an appointment to talk to your doctor about how you are feeling. That's all for me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.